At its core, Western esotericism has a powerful symbol stack: the elements, the planets, and the zodiac signs. Reflecting aspects of consciousness, these represent personal, interpersonal, and transpersonal realms. While seasoned practitioners work with all, the journey starts with the four elements: fire, water, air, and earth. In the previous video, we discussed the universal hexagram, which can work with the whole stack. In this one, we will focus on the elements, including their origins, magical technology, symbolism, and rituals. For those new to my work, I go by the name of POTB. I am a creator discussing esotericism, human potential, and creativity. Stick around if that sounds interesting, and if you need magic manuals or diagrams, visit my Etsy store as it likely has what you need. Also be on the lookout as my WooCommerce store will open soon. Not chemistry. Emerging from ancient philosophy, the classical elements are really not those of chemistry. Rather than atomic compositions, they are metaphysical concepts referring to states of existence. For example, water and liquids in general are represented by water, but ice by earth, as water represents liquids, whereas earth solids. Similarly, fire is plasma, air gas, and spirit energy, as we'll cover later. Origins. The discovery of the four elements is credited to Empedocles, who is considered a founder of science and philosophy. As a herbal magician, Empedocles referred to the elements as roots, representing more than their names. Earth represented land, soil and ground, water, rain, moisture and sea, air, the clear sky, brilliance and mist, and fire, flames, sunlight and whiting. Eventually, Empedocles' ideas became the actual foundation of the whole Western tradition. Spiritual essences. Empedocles viewed the elements as spiritual essences, with micro and macrocosmic components across the material and the physical. In the system of Carl Jung, they are actually universal structures, quote-unquote archetypes, that can be experienced but not fully explained. And as covered later, they are also stages of transformation. Qualities. Understanding the elements is really impossible without the works of Aristotle. Being a philosopher polymath, Aristotle came up with the concept of powers, or qualities forming each element. And that includes warm or hot, cool or cold, dry and moist or wet. Grouped as two pairs of opposites, these are evident in nature and the seasons. Moist corresponds to spring rains and new growth, warm to summer sun and maturity, dry to autumn leaves and stiffening stems, and cool to winter chills, decline and death. The square of opposites. The interaction between elemental powers is best depicted in the so-called square of opposites or elements. Aristotle believed that the powers are really absolutes, forming the mixtures that are the actual elements, and for such reasons he ascribed the powers to the square's corners, whereas the elements to the spaces between. He also recognized a quote-unquote dominant or predominant power in each of the elements. Earth, dry and cool, but dominantly dry; water, cool and moist, but dominantly cool; air, moist and warm, but dominantly moist; and fire, warm and dry, but dominantly warm. Motion. The square of opposites also reveals the elements' motion. Air and fire are active, light, and descent, whereas water and earth are passive, heavy, and descent. This opposing motion is anchored along the axis mundi, or the cosmic axis, that is basically Earth's axis between the celestial poles and or the rotation of the axis of the celestial and planetary spheres in a geocentric coordinate system. Triangles. This brings us to the elemental triangles found in basically all magical books. Water flows steadily downward, pairing with earth; fire flows upward, coupling with air. Downward triangles reflect passivity, feminine nature, and descending motion. Upward triangles activity, masculine nature, and rising motions, and crossbars indicate denser or grosser forms of the element. Transformation. Aristotle believed that the elements can only transform based on mutual qualities, or what we call density. For example, the cool and moist water transforms into the moist and warm air. According to this theory, two opposing elements can't really transform, but actually require an element in between to share a quality with each other. And an example is fire, air, water. Unity of opposites. There is no energy unless there is a tension of opposites. Carl Jung. The conjunction of opposites is central to alchemy and Jungian psychology. Jung proposed that the tension between opposing forces generates psychic energy, driving transformation. And a similar notion is also emphasized by Viktor Frankl. What man actually needs is not a tensionless state, but rather the striving and struggling for a worthwhile goal, a freely chosen task. Unquote. These forces can neutralize each other, stagnate the process, or unite, creating conditions for psychological growth and individuation, which is basically the goal of the whole Jungian system. While we'll get into this in a moment, the best source for understanding the elements' origins for those that are interested is the ancient Greek Doctrine of the Elements by John Opsipus, which I highly recommend. Links will be in the description. And now, let's proceed with more recent technologies. The Golden Dawn and Thelema. Inspired by Paracelsus and Eliphas Levi, the Golden Dawn and subsequently Thelema fused the elements with Hermetic Kabbalah and parts of the Enochian system, and this kinda changed everything. Spirit. The first change is adding spirit or quintessence. Spirit expresses itself through the elements, so understanding it depends on your understanding of the elements. Spirit has two aspects or forms: active spirit, aka energy in pure form, and passive spirit, aka matter in pure form. This is why we have active and passive spirit pentagrams in rites like SRP. In the words of the unfortunate, spirit and matter are really like water and ice, the two conditions of the same thing. So the other elements are basically stages or degrees between them. Fourfold nature. The second major change is ascribing the elements to the four Kabbalistic worlds and parts of the soul. That is fire, Atsilut, the pure urge to live and express; water, Braya, or creative ideas and intuition; air, Yetzira, or formation, organization, and finding ways to turn ideas into action; and earth, Asya, the physical realm of actions and limitations. Besides mapping onto the tree, these are individual trees in and of themselves. They also reflect in the Har and lower Sephiroth and even the order grades. 1 equals 10 is Malkut Earth, 2 equals 9 Yesod Air, 3 equals 8 Hot Water, and 4 equals 7 Netzach Fire. In Golden Dawn based systems, the elements also map the zodiac as 4 triplicities. Tablets. Fusing approaches, the Golden Dawn kinda remixed the Enochian Great Table into 4 elemental tablets, which it called the Reformed Table of Raphael. And this is where things get very interesting, as now each element gets 1. A quintessence version, represented by the mystical tablet of union, and 2. 4 elemental degrees or variations, symbolized by the sub-angles of its tablet. According to some sources, this quote-unquote new technology or fourfold nature enables elemental transformation regardless of mutual qualities, as basically each of the elements contains all others, kinda like the Sephiroth in the Tree of Life. The Tarot. Furthermore, this also maps the Tarot's divisions and combinations. Aces quintessence, Kings and Wands fire, Queens and Cups water, Emperors and Swords air, and Empresses and Discs earth. More on that is in my Rosecross cheat sheet. The Pentagram. The Pentagram represents the perfected microcosm or spirit's rulership over the elements. Pentagram rituals transform your internal world. This is why lower Golden Dawn and Astrum Argentum grades are considered alchemical. Also why there's an argument that elemental workings are pure alchemy, whereas planetary and zodiac ones high magic. Mastering an element is basically mastering or aligning an aspect of yourself. So let's start with the first, going bottom to top. Earth. Malkut, the sphere of Earth, is really a synthesis of all processes in the tree. Earth is considered the vessel, having most commonalities with spirit, as they both contain all elements. Earth binds and stabilizes. It corresponds to the physical body Guf and parts of the animal soul Nefesh. Working with Earth can help or put you in a position to improve your fitness, health, and finances. If you're obese, it may reveal prediabetes, preventing serious troubles, and if you're stuck in a dead-end 9 to 5, it may foster a change. These are crucial for building a proper vessel for the light. The Earth plane is really about manifestation or realizing potentialities if you're a fan of Viktor Frankl. This happens through action, which is why it is also that of action, Asya. So the better your health, performance, and finances, the less you experience its limitations. Air. Air represents thoughts, focus, attention, concepts, organizations, and plans. It is the rock part of the soul, corresponding to the formative world, which directly impacts the physical. Air is your thinking mechanism, including declarative memory. Declarative memory is a type of memory involving consciously recalling facts and events. Imbalanced air can result in airheadedness and overthinking. Mentioning this, balancing it has to do with studying and education, improving logic and reasoning, communication, etc. Not limited to the education system, all these help you figure out and organize the most efficient ways to actually take action. Water. Water unifies and dissolves. It represents the intuitive component of the mind, and it's also the neshama or the superconsciousness part of the soul. Water is associated with flexibility, changes, reformative states, reshaping, and more traditionally, emotions. Imbalanced water can result in emotional instability or feeling flooded by feelings. Water is linked to passive energy and qualities of receptivity, nurturing, gradual healing and recovery. Also to spontaneity, insights or hunches, and entirely changing your perspectives. Hence, the quote-unquote reshaping and reformative states. Fire. Fire governs willpower, courage, confidence, passion, aggression, determination, and rapid transformation. Also vitality and sexual or generative energy. And this brings us to an interesting detail. While some ascribe fire purely to the life force here, others argue it also rules parts of the nefesh as dead sources, drives, and urges which, when properly channeled, improve your situation immensely. Many rant about motivation versus discipline. Actually, the fire element rules both, as both do not happen without passion and agency or the ability to take risks and action regardless of circumstances. Imbalanced fire can manifest as anger and impulsiveness or burnout, which is basically discipline gone bad. Water receives while fire penetrates, helping you penetrate and burn your obstacles. Speaking of this, fire can also heal through destruction and burning and is associated with reformation. Consider combustion, explosiveness, and the eternal and formless fire. Pentagram rituals. Now, working with a specific element requires a specific or particular ritual. This is where the Supreme Pentagram Ritual SRP come into play. Alternatively, you can also use its simplified version, the Greater or GRP. Let's recall that lesser means general, whereas greater and supreme translate into specific and particular. Supreme or greater rituals attune your space to a particular force, which in this case is an element. They multiply its names, sigils, and gestures in all 4 quarters. And to learn more about that, I offer my manuals, which, based on what I've seen, are the most extensive and easy to follow. Elementals. Each element has a spiritual king and types of elementals or beings which you can work through its invocation. Fire, Jinn and the Salamanders, Water, Nixa and the Undines, Air, Peralta and the Sylphs, and Earth, Gep and the Gnomes. You can create sigils for those kings by using a moon Kamiya, as the elements are ruled by the moon, whereas the planets by the sun. This requires 1. Transliterating the name into Aramaic, and 2. Using the numbers as Hebrew letters are also numbers. Ideally, you'll also use one of the Eliphas Levi's elemental prayers, which you can get pretty much from anywhere. Balance. While this is beyond the scope of this video, one of the goals of alchemy is balancing the elements. Empedocles believe that having such balance results in improved tranquility, intellect, and overall perception of reality. And you can work toward that goal via several techniques. 1. Used by the Golden Dawn to start their operations, a 4-element Supreme Invoking Pentagram consecrates and balanced 4 forces. 2. Pairing nicely with the 4 elements SRP is the 5=6 middle pillar, which actually incorporates streamlined versions of the elemental prayers you can use for your invocations. 3. Regard this opening by Watchtower, which is built on SRP but can feel demanding and kinda cumbersome. For those who agree, my stores have a fusion technique providing powerful balancing effect by taking a 4-element SRP to a new level. A recap. Mastering the elements isn't just about magic, it is about aligning your mind, body and spirit. Whether you're just starting or looking to deepen your practice, this can transform your path, turning you into a mightier version of yourself. But that's just my opinion. Let me know if it resonates, check out the links in the description, subscribe, and thank you for your time.